Hey guys, James here with Waterford Business Solutions, and today we're going to talk about filling out and applying for forgiveness for the Paycheck Protection Program using the easy form or the short form. Previously I've talked about the long form or the actual full 3508 form where you have to do the worksheet to figure out everything and do all the calculations. This form is foregoing the worksheet, foregoing a lot of those calculations, and it's a simple, basically 3-page form. It's a lot simpler, it's a lot quicker to do, but the first thing you need to do is determine if this form will apply to you. So there's 3 things that will figure out whether this form applies to you. First and foremost, you're a self-employed person, a sole proprietorship, a 1099 contractor, someone who filled out and applied for the PPP without including any employee wages in that application. So if you are just a single one-man show type thing and you didn't apply for it with any type of employees, then you can use this form. That is not really anyone that I deal with, so I'm not going to go into detail there on how to do everything here. What I am going to go into detail with is the other 2. So the first one is going to be someone who can certify that they did not reduce wages or salaries by more than 25% during the covered period. So you didn't cut anyone's salary by more than 25%. i.e. if they were making $50,000 a year, you didn't cut their salary by more than $12,000, $12,500 to be exact, or you had someone making $10 an hour, you didn't cut their salary by more than $7.50. You will also need to go through and certify that you didn't have any issues with reducing your workforce or the average number of people working for you. In saying that, if you went after and you did due diligence to hire someone back and they just would not come back to you, or you hired someone or you had someone working for you and they ended up quitting while they were hired, and they willingly quit, or if someone came to you and they asked for a reduction in hours or a reduction in the amount of time that they worked, then you could still use this form. If that doesn't apply to you, then the next check here is going to be whether you did not reduce wages and salaries by more than 25% and you were unable to operate as normal or at all due to regulations, due to local, federal, or state regulations on coronavirus. If one of those 3 do not apply to you, then you will have to fill out the long form. With what I've gone through, I'd say at least 75% of people will be eligible for the easy form. But do make sure that you are 100% certain, because you will be certifying that all of those apply to you. And if they don't, you do risk fine penalties and potential imprisonment. So do make sure that you are doing your due diligence there. In saying that, if you go ahead and you apply and the easy form works for you, we're going to go ahead and start walking through how to fill out the easy form. So if the easy form works for you, the first thing we're going to want to do is put in your general business information, what your legal business name is, if you have a DBA, what your business address is, your business EIN, your business phone number, and this field is not set up nicely, so you'll have to do a few spaces to make it look nice. who your primary contact is, and what their email is. Now, you're going to want to make sure that this information, as much as possible, matches exactly what everything was when you filled out everything. The most important thing here is obviously going to be the EIN, Social Security number, or TIN, and your legal name. Even if you've changed your legal name, make sure that you use the same legal name that you used when you applied for everything. Now, if your address has changed, your phone number, or your email has changed, that's fine to modify, but you need to make sure you're using the correct legal name and the same EIN. Now, if you are a sole proprietorship or a 1099 contractor or self-employed, instead of your EIN or your TIN, you'll be using your Social Security number there. Then we're going to come down here to your loan numbers. So your PPP loan has two numbers associated with it. First and foremost, the SPA number. That's going to be the number that the SBA uses to track your loan. That should be on your closing documents from your lender. So you'll want to find that information and make sure you put that there. If you don't have that, you should be able to contact your lender to get this information. Then your lender is also going to have a loan number to track everything with. Again, this should be on your closing documents so that you can fill it out. But if it is not, or you can't find it, you should be able to contact your lender and once again be able to fill this out after contacting your lender. Some lenders will automatically pre-fill this based on your information, but that is what you need to make sure is in there, and you want to make sure those are accurate because that's how the SBA is tracking your loan for your business. Then your PPP loan amount. The PPP loan amount is going to be the amount that you were actually given. And that should be without any fees or anything coming out, etc., etc. This should be just the straight loan. So if we go ahead and we come in here and you were given $50,000 for the PPP loan, we would put that in there. You can find that either by looking at your closing documents, or you can go to your bank statement to the account that the money was initially deposited into and make sure that that matches up. Then you've got your disbursement date. This is going to be the date that you received the funds. This isn't going to be on your closing documents, and the bank very well may not have this. So you're really going to need to use your bank account to figure this one out. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to the original bank account where everything was deposited into. If you created a secondary account after you got the money and you moved the money there, that isn't the account you want to look in. You want to look in the account that the money originally went into and find the date that you received that money in the account and put that there. So we're going to use 5/1/2020 because that's what I used in my other video. Then the number of employees that you had at the time of loan application. So when you applied in April, for this example here, how many employees did you have? Employees at time of forgiveness. If you have grown in the number of employees, or if you've hired more employees on, or whatever, hired people back, give the accurate number as to how many employees you have on the date of filling this out. EIDL advance. So when the PPP first came out, you could get up to a $10,000 advance on the PPP loan. Those were in $1,000 intervals. So if you got an EIDL advance, you're going to want to put in that amount here at $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, however much. Now this $5,000 should be included up here in your PPP loan amount. Your EIDL will also have an application number. Just like your closing documents and everything else, you should be able to find that information on that closing document to put that application number here. You will need to make sure that that is on there. Then you choose your pay schedule, whether you pay weekly, so every single Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday, whether you pay bi-weekly, so every other Friday or every other Wednesday, whether you pay twice a month, so that's going to be you pay on the 7th and the 14th of the month, doesn't matter what day of the month that is, it's twice a month, or whether you pay monthly. Those are obviously the most common pay schedules, but if one of those doesn't apply to you, you can also select other and give a description of what it is. Then you have your covered period. Your covered period is going to start with the day that you received the loan. So for this example, it's going to be 5/1/2020. It is going to end at the end of either the 8-week or the 24-week period that you have everything set up and that you choose to use. If you applied and you received the loan before June 5th, you can choose either the 8-week or the 24-week period. If you applied and received the loan after June 5th, you have to use the 24-week period. So for this example here, I could choose either the 8-week period or the 24-week period. I'm going to go ahead and choose the 24-week period and put in 10/15/2020 here. If you received your loan, you can come in and you can choose your alternative period. So let's say that 5/1 was the end of a payroll for you. So you wanted to start it on the following Monday so that it went ahead and started on a new fresh payroll for you. You can modify your covered period here to that alternative payroll. So if you want to kick it a week, we're just going to do 5/7/2020. And we would also kick this ending date by a week. Then we're going to see if the borrower received PPP loans, so that is plural, in excess of $2 million. Most single businesses, especially that I deal with, aren't going to meet this criteria. But if you are an owner of a company and you have multiple different property or multiple different companies, and even if you're not the owner but you have an investor which is a part owner at the company, and they've got multiple different companies, if any one of the owners or investors received $2 million or more in PPP loans, you will need to check this box. Now again, this won't apply to many people, but that's what we're going to need there. Then we're going to come down here for payroll costs, and we're going to start filling out to figure out your forgiveness. So first and foremost, we're going to put in your payroll cost. Your payroll cost is going to be the gross wages, salaries, gross pay on your payroll during this covered period. So you would talk with your payroll provider, pull a report from your payroll provider that provided you with a breakdown of all of the gross payroll for all of your employees for the covered period. And you would put in all of that information. So we're going to say that our gross payroll for this period was $75,000. Then if you had any interest payments, mortgage interest payments for a mortgage that was originated before February 15th, and you can provide that mortgage document along with an amortization sheet to the SBA. For those interest payments, we can put whatever those total up to. You will need to provide the mortgage agreement dated before February 15th and an amortization schedule to prove those interest payments, preferably from the actual lender there. For this example, we're not going to put anything there. If you have rent or lease payments and you had a rent or lease originated before February 15th, and you've got the rent and lease documents proving that, along with receipt of payment from your landlord, you'll go ahead and you'll put that information in here. If you have business utility payments for business utilities that were originated before February 15th, you'll see a common piece here with February 15th being a major date. And you can provide both the invoices and payment receipts. You can go ahead and include that here. Once you do that, you'll add up all of these amounts into line 5 for $75,000 in this example. Now, obviously, if you put numbers here, it would verify or change this number down here. Then we're going to take our PPP loan amount. Our PPP loan amount was for the $50,000 here. And then we're going to have our payroll cost, which we want to figure out here. So it's going to be 60% requirement divided line 1 by 0.60. So we're going to take this 75,000 and divide it by 0.6 to get $125,000 here. Whichever amount is the smallest amount here will be what the forgiveness amount can be here. So for me, the smallest amount is my PPP loan amount. So my forgiveness amount is for $50,000. So as you can see, we're skipping out on basically 3 lines on the long form, along with having to fill out the Schedule A and the Schedule A worksheet. You will still need to go through and initial by all of these authorizations and certifications saying, yes, I understand, yes, I agree to this, and make sure that you read all of this just like any other loan. Then you will need to sign, date, print your name, and put your title with the company. And then this form is optional for you. You can say whether you're a veteran-owned business, what gender you are, your race, your ethnicity. This is just information for them. This is not something you have to fill out and will not affect your forgiveness if you fill it out. So as you can see, this is a much simpler form to use. If you meet one of those 3 qualifications, this is definitely the route that you need to go if you can. One thing to keep in mind is that there may be an even simpler form coming out. Before Congress went into recess for August, there was discussions of making an even shorter form. That has not come to fruition, but for most people, they have not reached the end of their 24-week periods yet. And so applying for forgiveness right now isn't majorly necessary. I'm advising most of my clients to wait until mid to end of September, because most banks still have not gotten their PPP loan forgiveness applications put together. You have this from the SBA, but the banks have their own stuff that they're going to be requiring too. So as a recap here, you can see what we filled out here. This is only for the easy form, so you're meeting one of 3 qualifications. And if you meet one of those 3 qualifications for the easy form, you get to use this, but there may be an even shorter form coming out. If your bank does not have the forgiveness application ready, or you haven't reached the end of the 24-week period, don't rush. You have until the end of December 2021 to get your loan forgiven. So there's over a year right now to get this loan forgiven, but you do have until end of December 2020 to use your funds. Most people should be more than able to do that because no more loans are being given out at this point in time. But your application for forgiveness isn't due tomorrow. Take your time, make sure you use the correct form. And if you want to be 100% safe, go and watch my long form and fill that out. Use the Easy Calculator tool that the AICPA has done there just to be 100% certain. It's always better to be 100% certain than to potentially get in trouble for it. As always, guys, it's been a pleasure. If you have any questions, need some help, or just want to talk about any issues, please feel free to give us a call at Waterford Business Solutions. You can reach us at 229-584-8793, or shoot us an email at info@waterfordbusiness.com.